Welcome to SJHL Weekly, episode 2 of the 2023-2024 season. Thanks so much for joining us. We have a great episode planned for you today. Recap a busy opening first weekend. We'll also be joined by Trevor Blevens, head coach and GM of the Melfort Mustangs, and we get to hand out our first awards of the season. So a very exciting episode of SJHL Weekly, and we have to give a big shout out to all of our sponsors before we get going. Of course, SJHL Weekly is presented each and every week by UPL, and of course, all of our great sponsors that you can see below: Bourgault, Cantera Seeds, Capital Auto Mall, Great Western, Nutrien, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Sask Lotteries, Tourism Saskatchewan, UPL, Sask Energy, SGU, SGI. Thanks so much for your support. And without further ado, let's bring in the co-hosts, Nugsy, Rory. Fellas, how was opening weekend? You guys have fun?
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. Obviously, our two teams played each other.
Got to hang out all weekend.
They always do in the opening weekend of the SJHL season. But what I'm taking away right off the top is we asked the commissioner about, could be speculative, but the parity in the SJHL. Do you feel that this year's going to have, even more competitiveness 1 through 12? The opening weekend, 11 team have points, at least one, which is crazy that there was only 2 teams that finished a perfect 2-0. Everyone else split, and only one team that finished 0-2. So the parity's right there, and that's what I expected, and I expect it to continue as a fun opening weekend.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. The atmospheres both in Humboldt and in Wilcox were awesome. Watching around the league on Flow Hockey, the broadcasts on Flow Hockey, as I fix my microphone here, were absolutely tremendous. Really happy with the fans that came out. A lot of rinks were electric, and so that's a lot of fun. We want an atmosphere that makes the game. The fans make the game in a lot of ways. So thank you to everybody that tuned out and tuned into Flow Hockey or bought a ticket. It was awesome.
Yeah, the fan support across the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League for opening weekend was very good. I think the average attendance was just shy of 1,000. So very exciting stuff for attendance across the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League for opening weekend. But without further ado, let's just get right into the action, and let's quickly show the scoreboards from the weekend. 5 games Friday night in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Estevan beating Melville 3-2. Flin Flon winning 5-3 over Nipawin. Yorkton with a shootout win over Weyburn 3-2. Battleford's blanking Kindersley 4-0. And then, of course, Melfort doubling up La Ronge 8-4. And then on Saturday, all 12 teams taking to the ice. Melfort with a 2-1 overtime win over the Flin Flon Bombers. Humboldt blanking Notre Dame 5-0. The same can be said at the Horizon Credit Union Center in Melville, as Melville did the same to Estevan. Weyburn with a 1-0 overtime win over Yorkton. Kindersley bouncing back with a 5-3 win over Battleford's. And La Ronge earning their first win of the season with a 3-2 shootout win over Nipawin. And then, of course, on Sunday, which was yesterday, the final game of opening weekend saw the Humboldt Broncos double up the Notre Dame Hounds 6-3. And of course, all of our scoreboards are presented by Sask Lotteries, the lookbacks from the weekend. 12 games in total, gentlemen. And let's start with one of the teams that started the season 2-0, the Melfort Mustangs. I mean, we saw it on Friday. I'm sure you guys, when you saw the score, were probably shocked, just like many people. An 8-4 win for La Ronge, and then they go into the Whitney Forum trailing 1-0. They come back and win 2-1 in overtime. A great weekend for the Melfort Mustangs.
Really impressed by them, and really excited to get the chance to talk to head coach Trevor Blevens coming up on the show as well, and kind of pick his brain with, I'm sure he's excited at 4 points at 2-0 and 1 in the Whitney Forum. When you look at the Melfort Mustangs, their big guns were going. Aiden Hutchinson, Zach Summers, 3 points apiece. Ryan Duguay, Matthew Pigeon, Hayden Prasovsky, 2 points. They had 12 guys with at least a point. James Venn, 930 save percentage. Unbelievable in the Whitney Forum. That's what the Melfort Mustangs needs. They got 4 lines that can roll. They might not be guys that the league is yet familiar with. When you look at a second-year Logan Belton and the jump he's going to take, when you look at a basically a first year, played a few games last year, a David Coyle, a Chase Freetmore coming from the WHL. You'll get accustomed to these names in Melfort. It's a really deep lineup, and with that structure and goaltending, this is why they're 2-0. But huge win in Flin Flon. Let's start that. Although the score is 2-1 and the first game was 8-4, which one's more impressive? I'm taking the 2-1 overtime in Flin Flon every day of the week.
Yeah, I mean, it was impressive too in the first period in La Ronge or against La Ronge too. 6 goals in the first period is a way to start the season. Get the fans into it at the Northern Lights Palace. But here's a little buy it or sell it. We saw Chase Freetmore's shot on display there against La Ronge at the Palace. We haven't seen a 20-goal scorer from a defenseman in the SJ since 2017-18. Clayton Eisler of the Melville Millionaires scored 20 that year. Could Chase Freetmore score 20, 25 this year? Buy it or sell it. Maybe I'm going to throw 25.
Yeah,
Chase Freetmore 25. Buy or sell that, boys.
25 I'd sell, 20 I'd buy.
I would agree. I agree with Rory.
That's right on my line. I think 20's well within
I'd say
reach.
22. Lock it in. You heard it here.
I'm going to boldly say 25 because that shot.
Well, we saw it in the preseason. And the Broncos played Melfort twice. I brought it up in the first week. I said, people are going to have to key in on the shot, especially on the power play, because it was giving the Broncos nightmares. Yeah. Whether or not there's a guy that blocked it and then a rebound went in, it was all through Chase Freetmore. He had like 3 points in that series. And it is one hell of a shot. I would say I'll buy 20. I'll buy 20.
Yeah, there you go. I'm buying 25. That's how I'm going. Yeah, and I also got to say, and I spoke about this a bit in the preview that we had last week that you can still check out on all the SJHL social medias. The Sherwood division being the division of great top lines.
Yeah.
The chemistry between Zach Summers, Aiden Hutchinson, and Ryan Duguay is already unreal. Trevor Blevens promised it would be unreal, and it was unreal. They set up both the goals there in Flin Flon too, and got that overtime winner through Aiden Hutchinson, who is a clutch guy. 3 game winners last year out of his 10 goals, so 33% of his goals were game winners. He's already got another 1 game winner this year. So hey, everything's ticking for Melfort. I was wrong. They're not taking a step back, folks.
I love the fact that there wasn't a slow smart from Summers and Venn, who didn't play any preseason games or
100%.
Barely any camp, no preseason games, came into this one, and they were fantastic. So I was predicting a slower start maybe, and then Melfort figuring it out come game 3, 4, 5. No, didn't take it right out of the gates, 8-4 and then 2-1.
Well, let's shift to the team they beat on Saturday, the Flin Flon Bombers. They came off a 5-3 win against the Nipawin Hawks on the road. They go into their home opener. They didn't play a bad hockey game. They lost in overtime, still get a point, still 3 out of 4 points to start your weekend. I'd still say a pretty good weekend for the Flin Flon Bombers.
Yeah, pretty good weekend. Flin Flon was 28-0 and leading after 2 periods last year, and they lost. So, I guess that's the randomness also of opening weekend. Hard to pick up too many patterns. So yeah, there's no reason to be worried. Talked to Mike Reagan a bit about it. He was very happy with their play in Nipawin. Damon Cunningham, we'll talk about Nipawin a bit more, but he was awesome and kind of kept that game a little bit closer than maybe it looked to. And on the flip side, they had to travel back to Flin Flon from Nipawin, get into bed, play the next day. The way the schedule went, it was really interesting up in the Sherwood, and I think maybe Flin Flon got bit by that a little bit against Melfort too. But yeah, certainly I don't think there's anything to be too worried about if you're the Flin Flon Bombers.
The one thing is that we talked about how potent their top line was projected to be.
Yeah.
0 points.
Yeah, that was a surprise
for all 3 of them.
That was
it was the Trevor Stengline show. I mean, 3 goals for the kid out of Victory Honda in the States. He was electric, and that line. They dominated the preseason. As you see, one of Stengline's goals right there. And Flin Flon scored 3 of their goals, by the way, in Flin Flon within a minute in the second period too. So that was also interesting.
They seem to do that a lot, don't they?
Yeah, it's an avalanche for the Flin Flon Bombers. But my bottom line again, I'm not worried if I'm a Flin Flon Bombers fan.
No, even despite the number 1 line not getting.
Yeah, you do like to see other guys picking up the slack, 100%. Right? It wasn't Justin Lees that we all thought was going to be jumping right out of the starting gates, but Joey Lees, 3 points.
Joey was
Stengline, who you said, right? The American rookie that's coming in, 3 goals. Ethan Andrews, Dawson Carroll. So you are getting it from other lines, and I'm not worried about the Silvestri, Vockler, and Justin Lees line. They'll be fine.
Sure.
They'll be fine.
Well, let's talk about the Nipawin Hawks, the team that the Flin Flon Bombers beat Friday night. A 5-3 loss Friday in their home opener, and then dropping a 3-2 decision to the La Ronge Ice Wolves in a shootout. Obviously, you'd like to, if you're Nipawin, would have liked to have come away with 2 points and earn a victory. Still get the 1, but a bit of a slow start to the season.
A slow start, sure. Yeah, Damon Cunningham, though,
Excellent.
what a weekend he had. And I know the stats in the one game says that it was Tyson Endall that played. It wasn't. Cunningham was the one that stopped 54 of 56 in that loss to La Ronge after being, good against Flin Flon too. So I think they're going to ride Cunningham quite a bit. Again, it's that Sherwood division is going to have so many of these games where you're just going to look like you take a dip in the style that you play and where, people are going to rank you in the division, and then you're going to go out and you're going to beat Flin Flon, you're going to beat La Ronge. I just think it's so close between those four teams that Nipawin, got the short end of the stick. They're lucky to get a point, but that's what they come away with the opening weekend. No reason to hang your heads.
Oh, no, not
that
at all.
Sherwood division is just going to be like that the whole year.
Yeah, and you know what? Last year, early this year, I think we talked about the Nipawin Hawks being a team that there's a learning curve to playing the way Tad Kozin wants his team to play. It's all speed, it's all pressure, all over the ice all the time. And, not everybody on the Nipawin Hawks was back from last year, so there are going to be some mistakes made. Not overly concerned. You talked about Damon Cunningham, a .925 save percentage to start the year for him.
With
Not
over
too
100
bad.
shots
With 106 shots faced. The Nipawin Hawks, the way they play, as well as the La Ronge Ice Wolves, same kind of thing, right? Like, you will get shots when you go to the cage in Nipawin. You will get shots when you go to the Mel Hegland Uniplex. There will be scoring chances. It'll be electric. That's just the way the game has been there. As long as we've all been watching the SJ, Doug Johnson's teams back in Nipawin days, obviously they were stifling defensively, but there were still shots on goal. So that's just the nature of the beast up in the Sherwood. And again, the Nipawin Hawks will learn Tad Kozin's ways. I'm sure they'll work, and it'll be a work in progress because they lost some pieces too. But overall, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch games up there. And at the end of the day, they were able to find a way to at least get a point and go on from there.
And speaking of Damon Cunningham, he is the recipient of this week's Tourism Saskatchewan Highlight of the Week. Let's have a look.
The home opener for the Wolves as Hodge will dish it to center for Handel. Handel now to the streaking Cole Thomas, who couldn't find it. Handel does, cutting in, down low, Thomas on a drive and a great save by Cunningham as he does Snow Angels and denies the Wolves.
And like you guys mentioned, Damon Cunningham was a very busy goaltender this weekend for the Nipawin Hawks, and there was one of the many great saves he made. Well, let's wrap up put a bow on the Sherwood division. Of course, we just saw the La Ronge Ice Wolves, after a tough 8-4 loss to start the season, to come back home after, take the bus back to La Ronge. Sure, it wasn't a fun bus, but to come back, get a victory at home in front of your home crowd. And I look at, for the thing that stood out for me with this win for La Ronge too, is just the confidence for Topher Chirico to go back in between the nets after allowing 8 goals and bounce back and help his team get a victory.
You look at last year, he allowed 5 goals in his first start against Melfort. He allowed 9 goals in his second start against Humboldt.
That's right.
In his first 2 games in the SJHL last season as a rookie. He bounced back and was great the rest of the year, right? So no surprise for me for Topher Chirico to allow the 8 goals against the Melfort Mustangs and go back in and shut down a Nipawin Hawks team again, back at home, where we know how good the La Ronge Ice Wolves are at home. So don't worry about Topher Chirico. You know what? Maybe it's just what this La Ronge team needed was to get beat 8-4 in the first game, because you kind of want them to play mean. You want them to play that Kevin Kaminsky style, and, kind of getting hit in the face there 8 times against Melfort might do it pretty sooner rather than later is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I know it's interesting too. Both of the goals, I guess, La Ronge score in regulation really start with the back end, and I think we're going to expect a lot of that from La Ronge. They're really, really good on that back end. You think about Parker Layton, Liam McInnes. I don't think you played again this Nipawin game, but again, it was a big start from the back end that created offense. Rylan Silzer scored a nice goal as well to tie it to head it to overtime in the first place. And then we'll see if these highlights, I guess they didn't show the shootout, but a guy who is from a town that I went to university in, Rain Hodge. I went to Wilfrid Laurier University in Waterloo, Ontario. Rain Hodge from Waterloo. I talked to Kyle Schneider, I guess there we go. The assistant coach of the La Ronge Ice Wolves. He was saying that they were really excited about him coming in, and didn't mention him in the preview for La Ronge, but really excited. And make sure you pay attention to here. I think I think here it is, beautiful little move and a great finish by Rain Hodge. They're really excited about his offensive ability, and Kaminski knows how to pick him. And again, not concerned about La Ronge. And last point is, as long as Kevin Kaminski's coaching in La Ronge, I can watch the La Ronge Ice Wolves in La Ronge. It's so much fun. Every game, entertainment value through the roof.
Unless you're the Nipawin Hawks going into La Ronge after they just lost 8-4, and they're probably like, oh man,
here we go.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, we're gonna need an A game in this one, I tell you.
All right, well, there's the Sherwood division. Let's move on to the Nutrien division. Almost said the old name.
I warned you before the show started.
You did. Luckily, I looked at the SJHL.ca to see the division's name. Let's talk about Battleford Kindersley, home and home between those two clubs. Both teams winning at home. Very different hockey games. Obviously, the first game was a bit of a goaltenders duel, and then Battleford broke free in the third period with 4 unanswered goals, and then Kindersley bouncing back at home in their home opener with 4 power play goals, but an interesting back and forth weekend for those two teams.
I'll take the first point about the first game, and that's Joey Hocko.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who Joey Hocko is,
sure you will.
The Battleford's North Stars, have they found another goaltender in a guy listed at 5'8"?
Yeah.
So he is, just above the crossbar. He's not an intimidating goaltender, but one that, I guarantee has a prove it mentality. He's probably been said no to, from a lot of teams because of his size. I saw him in the preseason. I was like, yeah, this goalie, he's real. Like, he moves so fast. He cuts down angles. He doesn't look like he's 5'8" in the net. And then he goes in and gets a shutout in his very first regular season game, 29 of 29. So do the Battleford North Stars have another goaltender? Sample size is way too small to tell, but I just wanted to give Joey Hocko a shout out because a guy who, like I said, probably is playing with a chip on the shoulder to come in and pick up a shutout in his very first game. That's a statement, and I loved it.
100%. And we have to also tip our caps to Logan Falk and Cody Jamin
very next
and the
night.
Kindersley net. Both games Battleford did outshoot Kindersley, and I ran the numbers. The expected goals 0.1 plus, so good scoring chances. It was kind of maybe 2.5, 3-1 to Battleford's both games. And so Logan Falk and Cody Jamin were awesome. A big storyline for this weekend, it's going to be the storyline. One of the storylines all year is how will these teams respond when they have new coaches, the new coaches,
right.
And obviously Clayton Jardine's not a new coach, but he's new to this group because obviously there's nobody back still around from when he coached Kindersley back in 2018-19. And so, what would they look like? And one answer is their power play was clicking. And yes, you need great personnel first and foremost to have a good power play. And he's got Logan Linklater and Logan Cox and, the list goes on, Tylen Hilbig. And so, going 4 for 10 on the power play, scoring 4 power play goals in one game is probably a good recipe to succeed. And interesting stat for you. And again, it was a bit of a rough year offensively all around for Kindersley last year, but they scored 26 power play goals last year, Kindersley. They scored 4 in one game already this year. I believe that's 15% of all of last year's power play goals. So, I'm not disrespecting the past. I'm just saying the present looks good for Kindersley. Special teams, very impressive.
And for what I hear talking to, a couple different players, the Perlingers might have been their best 2 players in that first game. I know they lost it, but they're 07s. And I believe, are they the 2 only 07s in the league? There's not many of them. There's maybe less than a handful. And they were the best players on the ice from just talking to a couple players in that first game. So that's cool to see, just some young Kindersley native twins, rookie season at that age and already having that performance. It's great. And Kindersley's power play was really the only one that was working this weekend.
Yeah.
So I think all coaches are now racing to practice today or tomorrow when everyone's back on the ice, and they're immediately going to the power play because Kindersley's the only team that not only is above 20%, they were 40% successful. The next highest is like 16%. Out of all the teams. So power play just wasn't working anywhere, it seemed like. But Kindersley had it.
Well, it's interesting. Usually at the beginning of the season, you see power plays struggle a little bit because you don't have time to practice. But the fact that Kindersley, was successful at that rate, pretty impressive. And it's good news for the Clippers moving forward. All right, let's talk about the 2 games that obviously you two are most familiar with, the home and home between the Broncos and the Hounds. Rory, would you like to start with this one? Obviously 2 victories for the Broncos in different matters, I guess.
Different matters. I was impressed with a lot of things. on the Broncos side. I loved the simplicity that they kind of showcased in just terms of the puck in their own zone. There was no nonsense. It was quickly out, transitioning back on, and the overwhelming pressure that they had on the Notre Dame Hounds in the first half of the first game. They outshot them 22-2 in the first period. It continued to be like that in the second. Notre Dame had a little bit of a pushback in the third. The second game was much, much closer. That game definitely, I thought, could have went either way. Notre Dame was within one a few times. But yeah, it was the Humboldt Broncos again. They came out with their high-powered guys. Matthew Van Blericombe, 4 points in 2 games. Cage Newens had a goal. Dalen Weigel picked up some points. But then their depth, which I was, again, the most impressed with. Merrick Mamich, Travis Bryson, Landon Stromey, Braden Skogstad, guys that are just new to the team. They got 6 returning players, so they're going to need some new faces to make some damage, and that's what I came away with. They scored the most goals, 11 in the 2 games. 9 of them were even strength. They only had 1 on the power play, so they were coming in waves. They were pressuring down defense, wearing them down over 60 minutes, and I was impressed with the way they were able to pick up the 4 points.
Nugsy, how about from a Hounds perspective?
Yeah, honestly, disappointed. I think the habits of the game, the Humboldt Broncos got them, as you were saying, Rory. The Hounds, actually an older team overall this year. The excuses shouldn't have been there. You know, maybe the Broncos have that higher end skill level that the Hounds maybe don't in some areas, but you can't excuse the habits of the game. If you watch those highlights of the goals, and you can go to SJHL YouTube and watch the highlights of every game every day, it seems like, which is pretty great.
Good plug, Nugsy.
There you go. Good plug for the people around here. IKS, yeah. Like, there weren't too many red jerseys around, Humboldt jerseys, when they were shooting pucks. And, there's skill. You got to finish if you're a Humboldt Broncos player, absolutely. But the Broncos were able to get out in transition. There wasn't that back check. There wasn't that pay attention to detail to change fast and with urgency, and the Broncos really good at taking advantage. They had a weak side winger up on the blue line. Every time the Hounds are changing over here, the Broncos get it out quick, get it up quick, and there's a scoring chance on the Notre Dame goaltender. And it's just those little details, those little habits that the Hounds really need to clean up. And, I talked to Davis Sato, did an interview with him after the game, and he was disappointed in himself and the whole team just in that regard. And, talked about the power play. The Hounds power play, I thought, looked actually really, really good. Both games had some good looks at Ben Motu. He's really solid in Humboldt when the Hounds got opportunities on the power play later in the game. And then the Hounds were 2 for 4 on the power play in Wilcox. And again, I think we're really connecting well. So maybe the 2 teams that had decent power plays, Kindersley and Notre Dame, which is interesting because there were 2 teams that struggled with the power play last year, but the sample size is too small. But overall, yeah, the Hounds have a lot to clean up, and I'm sure Brett and Pilkington and the staff will be working hard at it this week.
Go ahead.
Oh, you go first.
I was just going to throw out another buy it or sell it just after. I mean, I saw him throughout camp and then into the preseason. Did maybe we miss someone by not including Matthew Van Blericombe to lead the league in points? Because how much better this year does he look than the 30 games he played last year?
Well, Scott Barney, I was talking to Barney about Matthew Van Blericombe, and he honestly threw out, like, this kid might be an NHL, like, draft watch list type kid. And boy, oh boy, the jump he's taken. Scott Barney's an NHL player himself, like, he knows. So I'll let him say things like that, I guess. But
not Nugsy.
I'm not criticizing him. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying that's a big thing to say.
Yeah,
it is 100%.
But Matthew Van Blericombe, boy, oh boy, he's taken a big step forward. What a pest. He's not a fun guy to play against. A little slew foot here, a little this or that, after the whistle. But when the game's going, he's right on it. He's the kind of guy you want on your team. I'm sure everybody in Humboldt loves him. Big fan favorite, I'm sure. And boy, oh boy, the talent, the speed, the strength, the size. It's as impressive as I've seen for a 17-year-old player in the league for a while. And boy, oh boy, yeah, look out for Matthew Van Blericombe this year. And Michigan Tech, you got a good one.
Over the course of the 2 games, he had 16 shots on goal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's a problem. He's a problem.
That's a problem.
Yeah, and then you want to see that out of your returning players to take that next jump. And, of course, what I was going to conclude with saying is the Hounds will look for their first win now Friday when they hit for a little road trip. And Interesting schedule for the Broncos.
We don't play forever.
Yeah, I was going to say,
It's a
when
long
do you
time.
guys play next?
9 days from the last game, so not until October 3rd. It's really weird to start. I mean,
It is an odd start.
it's cool. I mean, for a team that went 1 for 11 on the power play, I'm sure they want to work on that. But the Notre Dame kill was great, and the 2 goaltenders especially were backstopping that kill.
Fair enough.
There was a lot of shots on power plays for the Broncos. Pucks were getting through. Let me tell you that. But they couldn't beat the 2 goaltenders.
All right.
But yeah, it'll be next Tuesday, October 3rd, I believe it is. Yeah, so they won't play all this weekend.
There you go. Well, let's quickly get to the Vitera division before our guest, head coach and GM of the Melbourne Mustangs, Trevor Blevens, joins us. Let's quickly just go with Weyburn and Yorkton. You know what? When we did the preseason preview show, we talked about not many goals in this division.
Yeah.
It's going to be very difficult to score, and that was the case in this home and home between Weyburn and Yorkton.
Yeah, so I mean, this series goes back to the preseason too, right?
Yeah.
Because
That's right.
They've played each other 4 times now. Like
Quite
Weyburn and
familiar
Yorkton.
with each other already.
Yeah, they're familiar, and every one of those games have gone to overtime. 3 of the 4 of them to a shootout. And you know, I loved what I saw from Yorkton. Really, both games. I think again, we talked about the new coaches. Emery Olison has gone into Yorkton and added a lot of structure. You know, they have a pretty good roster. We talked about that in the preseason. Clay Sleva started the game on Saturday with a huge hit behind, I think it's right here. Oh. There it is. Big hit on Max Henderson. So, you know, maybe Weyburn was slightly the better team in Yorkton. Yorkton was maybe slightly the better team in Weyburn. And Blake Betson with an absolute beauty in overtime to win it in Yorkton for Weyburn. Shootout winner. Got a nice finish in Jaron Desnoyers, you know, in Weyburn for Yorkton too. So, you know, it's very, very interesting matchup. And the Vitera division, if we thought it would be unpredictable to start with, I think it's even more unpredictable now, boys.
I totally agree with that. That's where I was going. And I know there's a get a goalie rule, right? Where you need one. Every team in the Vitera division, I think, has one.
Yeah, I agree.
You're going to see this division, you know, really just constrict itself in terms of the competitive nature. I think that we've seen over the past 2 years with Estevan kind of running away with it.
1,000%.
It is coming close now with William Dyke, Caleb Allen, Dasa Mitchell, Cam Herdlicka. And I know when we look at the division, we kind of go, Weyburn, Estevan, yeah, that's the rivalry. They hate each other. Yorkton, Melville, that's the rivalry. This one's going to be fun. This one, all 4 games going into either overtime or a shootout. Yeah, this one, they're going to very soon not like each other. I think it's already there, but all 4 of these teams now are right. They're there in the mix.
Yeah, and just quickly, let's touch on Estevan and Melville. For Melville, obviously, first 2 games under Doug Johnson, and boy, oh boy, do those teams definitely look like the old Nipawin Hawks, don't they?
In no time.
In no time, literally.
Yeah, and I mean, I said it like really early in the preseason. I saw Melville, and I was like, man, these guys are starting to look like the Nipawin Hawks, like they of old. I mean, they like, and I obviously those Nipawin Hawks teams had massive guys with huge beards that skated 1,000,000 miles an hour and shot the puck 500 miles an hour. But, you know, that being said, these guys have bought into Doug Johnson's system already. And, you know, some of us were talking and kind of half joking, but obviously we all have a lot of respect for Doug in that we're like early coach of the year, Doug Johnson, because the roster, you know, it doesn't necessarily jump maybe after William Dyke and maybe Colby Ball. But boy, oh boy, this Melville Millionaires team, Jeromy, you watched them play, you called their games like it was really flashback stuff. It was really team before me, and you know, there was pressure all over Estevan. You know, Estevan Bruins had some injury issues, I think, on the back end in one of the games, but William Dyke was good. Estevan got that big goal from Felix Allard in the 3rd period on the power play in Estevan. Otherwise, that game could have gone for Melville too. So, you know, hey, strap yourself in, Melville, because you got a really competitive team this year.
You were also there in Melville, you said, and you loved the atmosphere, right? I feel like there's a new sort of sense of belief there.
There is,
right?
Yes,
with Doug Johnson, with a young team coming in. It's my surprise of the week that they were able to not only shut out the high guns and the powerhouse on the Estevan Bruins 5-0. Props to Will Dyke, props to Doug Johnson and the rest of the players that have bought in so early. But as Nuge said, they could have won both games. Yeah. And we've kind of been in Melville before the past 3 years. Yeah. You know, I mean, you want to see a better atmosphere there.
1,000%.
I'm not going to put it, nicely. You want to see more people come out, support their team. So if that's what you saw, I love it. And for them to go out of the gate and beat the 2nd oldest team, as Melville right now is the youngest team in the league, that's cool. Yeah. So get out and cheer them on, because that's awesome.
Last point for me, I know every game this year between Estevan and Melville is going to be good because there's so many Estevan Bears AAA guys on the Melville Millionaires.
Excellent point.
Caden Drury had a great couple games. Former Estevan Bear. Boston Harkness is there. Tucker Buhay is there. The list kind of goes on. There. Mike Rooney clearly built that connection with the Estevan Bears and brought these guys in. They've stuck around. So it'll mean just a little bit more for those guys too, I'm sure, on the Melville Millionaires to beat the Bruins.
No doubt about it. But it was a great opening weekend of SJHL hockey. And after the break, we are going to be joined by the head coach and GM of the Melfort Mustangs, Mr. Trevor Blevens, to get his thoughts on his team's first 2 wins of the season over the weekend. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
And now down to Bruce Buck.
It's time for Rockmania at Capital GMC. Get rates as low as 0.99% and savings up to $8,000 on a new GMC Sierra. Plus used trucks with low rates and no payments for 90 days. It's Rockmania at Capital GMC in Regina.
As a student, things can pile up fast. Ouch. But the RBC Student Banking Bundle makes back to school easier with up to $275 in value. That's a whole pile of takeout.
Today, online bullying is more common than ever, but there is help. SaskTel wants to solve this problem. It's why they created Be Kind Online. If you're a victim of online bullying or know someone who is, or even if you just want to stop it from happening to anyone, this is a place to learn what you can do. You can find lots of tools and tips to help you stand up to cyberbullying. Be Kind Online is a place to learn how to stay safe as well, to learn best practices and plans to stop cyberbullying before it even has a chance.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. It's Jamie, Rory, and Jeremy. Thanks so much for joining us wherever you are watching SJHL Weekly today, whether it be on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, you name it. We appreciate your support. But it's time to go to the video chat line where we're pleased to be joined by the head coach and general manager of the Melfort Mustangs, Mr. Trevor Blevens. Trevor, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. Really appreciate it. How's it going?
Great. Yeah, thanks, guys. Always a pleasure.
Now, Trevor, first question for you. We heard a rumor. We heard a rumor that there was a big win off the ice for the Melfort Mustangs on Saturday, as well as a win off on the ice. Can you confirm and deny it?
Well, I could confirm it.
You can confirm.
But it wasn't bought. It wasn't bought in game. It was well before warm up.
There you go. There were no league violations.
No league violation when it's 50-50. We're not gambling on the results of the game.
You're
supporting local hockey in Flin Flon.
I was, yeah. And Sean Mason and I were standing there, and the young lady came up and asked if we want a 50-50. I looked at Sean, do you want to split? And so, interesting story. The other trainer had the tickets on the bench. He shows me at the 8-minute mark that we won. So I said, "Hey, keep it down. Like we got a game to play here."
What a time!
as soon as we won, I gave the tickets to Sean, our trainer, the other trainer, and said, "Hey, we won. Go get our money." So we ran out of there pretty fast. So it was pretty good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Trev, just your thoughts on the opening weekend. Interesting schedule in the Sherwood. People traveling around all over the place. A lot of the other divisions was kind of home and home, but you guys a little bit different up there. Just talk about how you feel it went.
Well, first game I thought was excellent. We had a great start. Actually filled the net twice right away. I think 5 minutes in, and then really took off from there. I know, I was a little bit worried with, Summers, Hutchison, Duguay, and Venn not playing, and there's a number of others that were just their first look in a game. So a little bit worried about rust and maybe some nerves, but everybody showed up, played well, and shook it off real early. And we had a good start was key. Obviously, you get a couple goals, and we won 8-4, and then the next night was almost like a playoff game. I'm sure if you asked Mike Reagan, it was almost felt like it was March. It was just back and forth and tight checking, and it was a close game, obviously with the score. But really, I think any other team could have really took the game. But we battled back, being down 1-0 going into the third period, and scored quick. And then kind of, Flin Flon really took it to us in the third. But, for us, whenever you can get 2 points up in Flin Flon, it's a bonus.
I just kind of want to single out a few players as we have you very early in the season. There's some people on the roster that maybe fans are looking to get a little bit more insight on. How nice is it to have a Chase Frietmore on the back, not only with his shot that I've seen now 10 or 20 times since the preseason, but what has that sort of veteran WHL leadership brought into your dressing room since you've acquired him? And of course, his style on the ice, like he's going to be one to watch every game this year.
Yeah, he's been outstanding. And then really has the attitude too, like captain material, just phenomenal off the ice. I think that's most important for, our dressing room and the intangibles that he brings as a player and as a person. And, on the ice, like he's really accepted the role to be a lot more offensive, and you can tell he's working hard at it. And, that maybe not what his role was in the WHL, but he does have a good shot for sure, and we've used that obviously on the power play in preseason. But with that, he really makes a great first pass. It settles things down, and he's great defensively too. So not only his offense is coming along, but his defensive play is really, really underrated, and it's excellent.
Yeah, from a guy that maybe we don't know as well, or we haven't seen him in the league in a while, because of course he was with Kindersley a number of years ago. But a guy that we know very well, obviously, and Zach Summers had that Team Canada experience last year. University of Maine committed already. How great is it, obviously, to have us talent like Zach Summers in the lineup, but also to have him as an example, as someone for your younger guys to aspire to see what he does, how he prepares, gets ready for a game, and plays. To have him around as well.
Yeah, it's been excellent. He brings a lot on the ice for sure. Like his motor has come a long, long way. Like I remember when he was 17, and he not necessarily wasn't ready for the league, but he was physically, it was a challenge for him, and he adapted. Very, very quickly at 17, and he's kind of been one of those players that's always adapted no matter the situation he's in. So last year had a little bit of a rough start, but turned it on in October to get the invite to Team Canada West, and then really was kind of like maybe the last pick to go there and to the camp, and then played himself well onto the team. And then ended up being in a top 9 role. So he's always kind of adapted, and no different right now. He's going to accept this leadership role that he's got with us. He understands that he's going to be leaned on to produce, but also, be a good person in the community and on the team, and be a excellent player every night for us. So he's done a great job so far. Obviously, we're just 2 games in. It's early, like no matter how you call it, but through exhibition, through camp, and everything, he's been excellent.
When you look at the Sherwood division, it was like it last year a bit, but this is murderer's row, and you got 18 games of the season against your division opponents. Just, how kind of exciting it is to know that, like you mentioned, this weekend in Flin Flon, it seemed like March already. I think anytime you're in La Ronge, you're in Nipawin, you're in Flin Flon, it's going to feel like that with just how the Sherwood division is stacked. Does that kind of excite you guys to have those monumental and important games already, like right now, just with how the Sherwood looks?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think it's great. You're in one every night, and no matter what. And I think that for the whole league, to be honest. But I mean, our division, we all know, like La Ronge, Nipawin, and the Whitney Forum are tough places to play. And I've said this before. You got to adapt, your game when you're in those rinks, and it's harder. It's just flat out harder, and they're tough places to get 2 points in. And if you can, you got to be ready for physical battle and a high compete level, and you can't come in falling asleep or first 10 minutes. You got to be ready to go. So I think that was a big key for our game the other night. Was in our first 10 minutes we did a great job of keeping them to the outside and weathering the storm per se, and making sure we managed the puck. And I thought we played an excellent road game there too.
Yeah, for sure, Trev. Last one for me, and again, I really appreciate it. I know all of us do. You're always so honest and open, and with your thoughts and your opinions about everything. So we really appreciate that. When I think about your teams over the years, the very first thing I think about, Trev, is incredible goaltending. You've had some incredible goalies over the years. You get James Venn back this year, which I'm sure is really exciting for you to have a guy like him back in the fold. I guess talk about the fact that he kind of doesn't. You don't give him the keys. Everything is earned, I know, with you, but the fact that this is kind of his year really to shine, as he's sat and been patient, playing a 1A, 1B role for a couple of years for you now.
Well, I think we can safely say he has the keys. That's for sure. He's earned it. Sure. The last 2 years. Yeah. We had to lean on him a lot. Like Joel was great, but he had his injury bugs, and I think James, as a 17-year-old, started 18 games in a row for us and got the job done that year, and got us positioned for playoffs. So, I mean, he's earned it, no doubt. And the biggest thing for us is going to make sure we manage him, and he understands that he's going to let us know too when he's tired or when things are off, but generally speaking, he's going to have the net a lot this year, and that's going to be no secret. And we expect him to be one of the top goaltenders in the league for sure.
Just a cool story again, and it seems to be happening across the SJHL with former players coming in and taking assistant coaching roles, but not very long after graduating out of the league. You have Kyle Schneider in La Ronge, Tyler Traptown Kindersley, Ty Sugar is your new assistant coach. Just how has Ty kind of found his footing as the new assistant coach for the Melfort Mustangs, and what he brings?
Yeah, he's been excellent. It's kind of been nice that a lot of my ex-players are always on other teams with Schneider and
yeah,
it's kind of nice for an ex-player to actually come back. And Ty's been excellent. We really appreciate. First of all, I really appreciated him as a player. He was phenomenal. He probably one of the hardest players that I've ever coached. And he not very big in stature, but he did everything out there that was asked of him, and he went through the wall, and his physicality was through the charts. So, I mean, his compete level was where it's at, and he had great energy, and he was an assistant captain for us. And so all those qualities in an individual you want as a coach too. So, I mean, it's been a perfect fit, and so much so of, taking the defense role this year and letting him kind of handle the forwards and the skill development, and a lot of input on the power play and the offensive side of things. because he had that part of it out of his game too, and he's fitting in great. Brings lots of good energy, and we obviously mesh right away because he's one of the most character guys and one of my favorite players that I ever coached. So this has just been absolute great for us and our organization, but more importantly for assistant coach and coach relationship. It's just been outstanding, and I can't thank him enough for what he's already done.
Trev, before we get to Rory's rapid fire, I got to ask you, in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, it's all about giving back to the communities. And this coming weekend's a big one for the Melfort Mustangs. Of course, you have the Goals for Kids Sport kickoff on Friday in Melfort. But then on Saturday, you also have your orange shirt game, which if you haven't seen, you can go to melfortmustangs.com and check out the beautifully done redesigned logo from Jerry Whitehead from James Smith Cree Nation. And you guys will also be selling t-shirts with the logo on it, with the proceeds going to James Smith Cree Nation, the Kids Sport chapter there. What does it mean for you, yourself, and the organization to be able to do something like this and give back?
Well, you're speaking to the, I won the community involvement award a couple of times as a player, so it's near and dear for sure, and that's what we're about here. It takes many people to run an organization, as obviously you got the sponsors, the volunteers, but the service groups, we definitely give back, and all the minor hockey and anything regarding kids for sure, activities. But it's huge. You have to do it. There's so much that Melfort puts into our team, and we're basically ran within 6,000 people and supported within the boundaries of Melfort, and we appreciate it a lot. And it's a requirement to give back, not an expectation. Like you have to, and that's what we want. We want that relationship with the Melfort community, and we appreciate everything everyone does, because even though they may not be at the games all the time, or someone's buying a coupon book or a ticket, or definitely doing something to support our club, and we appreciate 100% from everyone.
Trev, thanks so much. It's time to wrap it up with Rory's rapid fire. I got 4 quick questions for you. And here we go.
Be interesting.
Yeah.
Always is.
You know what? I was kind of thinking before the call that you guys look like the Muppets on the balcony criticizing everybody there. Kind of dating myself. Yeah, giving it up there.
Let's rock. Okay, so you obviously left Flin Flon with 2 points and something else. What was nicer to leave Flin Flon with? The 2 points, or maybe the 2G, baby?
Yeah, it was nice to get the 2 points. See, the problem is in my house, we have to share the winnings. So by the time I divvy it up and give it to everybody, it's and there's not much left, which is awesome too. That's good.
Well, talking about sharing, I just gave prior to the show Nugsy some gluten-free chicken noodle soup that my girlfriend made, and then we got to think, soup season's around the corner. I wonder if Trevor Blevens a soup guy. So are you a soup guy, or is it no soup for you?
Either way, I'd say no soup if I had the choice.
No soup for Trevor Blevens. All right. You mentioned Carter Hansen was a former player. Now he's the assistant coach on the Humboldt Broncos. I do believe that he was also your billet son for a short period of time. On a scale of 1 to 10, how is Carter Hansen as a billet son?
I'd say about 10. He's phenomenal.
All right, very, very nice. And the final one, of course, Nugsy also told me that his record from making it to the front of the bus to the back of the bus to use a bathroom while all the players are sleeping is 22 seconds. If we timed you, could you beat it?
I could beat Nugsy in any race. It doesn't matter what it is.
That's true.
That's all I got.
Well, there you go. Trevor, thanks so much for your time.
Even a hot dog eating race right now.
No.
They got to be gluten free.
We're going to have that happen. Let's do that.
They got to be gluten free, though.
Let's get a sponsor. Jacob Faith, where's the sponsor?
All right, we'll get a sponsor. We'll set that up. Trev, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and best of luck the rest of the way this season.
All right, thanks, guys. Pleasure to be on.
Thanks. All right, that is the head coach and general manager of the Melfort Mustangs, Trevor Blevens. After the break, we're going to hand out the first edition of the Players of the Week. And spoiler, we got more. We have more awards this year than last year. We'll tell you all about it right after the break. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
impossible possible. That's what the Silverado 1500 does.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
Thanks for helping me out and trying to protect me today. It's the kind of thing that, somebody comes out who's not ready, not prepared, and put into an awkward situation without somebody taking leadership and saying, hey, I'm going to protect you. It's going to shorten people's careers. And that's a big reason why we exist and, what drives us to do what we do.
They know how important their role is in the community, being a good leader, showing kids that there is a right and a wrong way to do things and leading the right way. Being a positive role model to not just kids in the community, but anybody in the community.
Coach said a lot of great things that are really consistent with the values that we have at the SCSA, and respect for those around us, respect for those that we work side by side with, leadership, and part of that is being innovative and collaborative and solving problems together. Really, the last one that you touched on was integrity, doing what's right and doing it the right way, and those things just yield incredible results, not just in terms of making things safe, but really being productive and striving, whether it be in a game or in your life or in your business.
I think absolutely we try and fill the roles of all those values and just try to be the best people we can, really, not only for ourselves but for our teammates and for the community around us.
Have a lot of fun today. Thanks, guys.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. It's Jamie, Rory, and Jeromy. We appreciate you tuning in wherever you may be watching SJHL Weekly across all the social media platforms. Before we get to the first edition of Players of the Week for this season, it's time for another edition of Noogs and Notes. Noogsy?
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Last week I talked a bit about what Nutrien, the new sponsor for the Central Division, is. So I thought, you know what? Let's cover the other two divisions as well, just to break it down, so that we know what they are.
This is an educational program.
Hey, I'm trying to make it edutaining.
Yeah.
Edutaining. So we kind of know what Sherwood is, right? The hockey company that makes sticks, equipment, etc. Connor Bedard, Matthew Kachuk are big spokesmen, but also Saskatoon's own Emily Clark, obviously former University of Wisconsin, and big years for the Saskatoon Stars back in the day. Started in 1949, so we're really proud of Emily Clark here in Saskatchewan, Olympic gold medalist for Canada, of course. And Vitera, so maybe you don't know what Vitera is. It was formed in 2007, and it operates an industry-leading network of grain elevators, special crops facilities, processing plants, and port terminals across Canada and parts of the U.S. So essentially logistics for transporting agricultural products like grain, especially. They have they handle a lot of grain handling and storage facilities in southern Australia, and of course in Western Canada. So they ship grain all over the world, and obviously Canada really, really well known for our grain and our wheat and whatnot here in Western Canada, especially. So those are the two divisions. And then the last point that Rory and I learned really, really well yesterday, especially, was that if you're playing in the SJHL, keep your mouth guard in your mouth, because if referees see you with your mouth guard out of your mouth while you're playing, you will get a 10-minute misconduct. They will stop the play. Travis Bryson of the Humboldt Broncos was carrying the puck up the left wing, and all of a sudden the referee blew the whistle, and we all said, what's going on? And it turned out Travis Bryson was chewing on his mouth guard. So it's an insurance thing. It's not being a curmudgeon or anything, but keep your mouth guard in your mouth. If the referees see it out of your mouth, they will call it right away. We learned because we didn't know what was going on. So there you go. There's the mouth guard rules in this JHL.
They are cracking down.
And there's Nugs and Notes.
Two of them last night.
Yeah. Cage Newens, I believe, and Travis Bryson, both of Humboldt, were chewing on their mouth guard, and the referees stopped the play right away. So make sure you keep your mouth guards in your mouth, kids.
The funny thing was is that we didn't know that was what he called. So we both kind of saw an unsportsmanlike called on a guy who had the puck coming down the wing. Like, did he say something to someone as he was skating down the left wing?
He was about to shoot the puck pretty much. And the lines have been standing there, goes, tweet. We're all like, there was no hound around Bryson. He's about to shoot it, and all of a sudden the play stopped.
Which makes sense. Mouth guard. You can't chew on it like Steph Curry.
It's an insurance thing, right? So
this really is an educational program.
Nugs and Notes.
There you go. Hey, can I just make a request for Nugs and Notes moving forward? Because I love how the first two episodes you've kind of broken down what some sponsors are.
Yeah.
Let's just run through all of our sponsors moving forward for Nugs. I would love next week UPL, please.
Okay.
For us, the proud sponsor of SJHL Weekly, the presenting sponsor of SJHL Weekly and SJHL Insider. That would be a personal request. You don't have to, but
I'm writing it down.
Oh, there you go. Stay tuned. Next week, you'll find out what UPL, our great presenting sponsor, is. All right, time to dive into Players of the Week. I teased it before we went to break. Last year, we had 4 Players of the Week. And this year, we have added 2 more awards, which is great because, you know what? Sometimes when it comes to narrowing down the Players of the Week, it can be challenging. And I think there were times last year where I think the 3 of us in our group chat said, I wish I had 1 more award to give this guy some recognition and stuff like that. Well, now we got 2 more. We got 6. So it'll be a little bit more time consuming, but more players are going to get recognized. So let's start, Nugsy, with SGEU MVP of the Week. We had a good conversation about the players of who would win this award. There was a bit of a logjam when it comes to points, but we ended up going with Aiden Hutchinson of the Melfort Mustangs.
Yeah, top line winger for the Melfort Mustangs, scored the overtime winner in Flin Flon. If you score an overtime winner at the Whitney Forum and you don't play for the Flin Flon Bombers, you have a great chance of being an MVP.
That's like 3 goals.
Right, exactly. That is a hard thing to do. So Aiden Hutchinson, game-winning goal. He got 2 assists as well, as you see on the fine graphic. Beautiful graphic on the screen. Love that. And as I said, 33% of his goals a year ago were game winners. He's already got 1 this year. He's off to a great start.
That's a clutch player.
Yep.
That is a clutch player. Let's move on to now. Here's a new award. The Bourgault, who's a new sponsor for the SJHL. Thank you, Bourgault. The Bourgault Forward of the Week. And this is the player who ended up having the most points this week, Rory, and that would be Matthew Van Blaricom of the Humboldt Broncos.
Yeah, 4 points, 2 goals, 2 assists. He's now in a tie with the score, league leading with his teammate Merrick Mamich there. But we talked about him earlier, and the jump that we have seen in a very small sample size, which I only expect to continue to grow, has been immense. So just keep number 22 now. He was number 59 last year, changed his number to number 22 this year. Keep your eye out for Matthew Van Blaricom, forward of the week with 4 points in 2 games.
And let's stick with the Broncos for the Super U Defenseman of the Week, Rory, with a goal and 2 assists. I might butcher his last name, Tristan Serrao.
Serrao, yeah. Serrao's
close enough.
He won't get mad. He's one of the nicest kids around.
Sorry, Tristan.
Always giving everybody hugs out there.
Oh, good guy.
But yeah, funny thing about Tristan is that he just matched his season total last year in 1 game.
Yeah, I wrote that in the article. That was pretty funny.
He had 3 points last season in 25 games. Now he's a second-year player. Helped that D-core get a shutout in game 1 and then picks up 3 points in game 2 to now lead all defensemen in scoring after the first weekend.
So congratulations, Tristan. Moving on, Direct West Rookie of the Week, Nugsy, and he found the back of the net 3 times, that being Trevor Stenglein of the Flin Flon Bombers.
Yeah, he had a huge year last year with Victory Honda in Michigan, picked up where he left off. 2 goals against Nipawin, scored a goal in the next game as well against Melfort, the only goal game, I believe, for Flin Flon in that game. And but yeah, boy, oh boy, we talked about that top line, didn't put up the points that we maybe thought they would in the first week, and not worried, but somebody else picked up that slack, and Trevor Stenglein was a big piece of it. Really, really skilled. What a shot. That kid can really shoot the puck.
So congratulations to Trevor. Moving on, SJHL goalie of the week, Rory. We alluded to it in that Vitera division. There's lots of great goalies. A lot of goalies could have won this award this week. I got to just point that out. A lot of goalies across the league could have won this award this week, but Daza Mitchell just absolutely superb for the Weyburn Red Wings, getting 3 out of 4 points.
Yeah, one of 7 goalies that played both games, and 964 save percentage, a shutout already for Daza. He was Nugsy's pick for goaltender of the year to keep an eye out for. He was your pick, right? I believe.
Yeah, it was.
And 0-0 all the way to overtime, and Daza Mitchell wins that game for the Weyburn Red Wings. He's been good for a while. Weyburn loved to carry 8 goalies on their roster. I've always thought, why you have Daza Mitchell, but he had a heck of a 2 games this weekend to open it up.
For sure, and he's setting the tone for what could be a very good year for Daza in between the pipes. Finally, the last award, that it's a new one, Nugsy, and this one I think is going to become a fan favorite, but it's Saskatchewan Player of the Week, and we want to highlight a player from the province of Saskatchewan. So the first winner of Saskatchewan Player of the Week is going to Zach Summers of the Melfort Mustangs.
Yeah, and not only is he a Saskatchewan kid, he's a kid that plays at home in Melfort, which is also a beautiful thing. Part of a 6-goal first period for Melfort and La Ronge. He assisted on both Melfort goals at the Whitney Forum. Again, a point in Flin Flon is like maybe 2 points somewhere else. So there you go. Zach Summers, again, super proud of him for representing our league and our country at the World Junior A Challenge last year too, and representing our province at the National Aboriginal Hockey Championships as well, which I think is an awesome tournament every summer, and he's a very, very proud First Nations young man as well as Zach Summers. So great to have him represent our province, and with the first win of this award, as this league, we're so focused on making sure kids play here if they're from here and stay here in Saskatchewan.
So congratulations to all 6 award winners. If you'd like to learn more, you can head to sjhl.ca and read the full article. But before we wrap up the show today, guys, let's wrap up, I guess, the opening weekend. What are your biggest takeaways from this weekend? Because I think we talked about parity. Parity is one thing. I mean, every team other than the Notre Dame Hounds, sorry, Nugsy, didn't record a point this weekend. But what are your biggest takeaways from opening weekend?
Goalies were awesome.
Yeah.
Power plays sucked. And and
love the bluntness. Yeah. Love it.
And we have a new Nostradamus of the SJHL. Nostradamus, the ancient philosopher, astronomer that predicted future events. Well, if you do go on the Broncos Twitter page and look for the junior reporter, the first one they put out was Marek Mamich, who was interviewed by his billet brother, Charlie. Last question of the interview was, when are you going to score your first goal as a Bronco? Most players that we've pre-recorded these said, I hope, within 5 games, maybe on game 5 or something like that, right? Marek goes ahead and says, first game, second period, third shift. And literally does exactly that. The third shift for the Broncos in the second period. He comes in the slot and scores a goal perfectly and kind of creepily predicting exactly.
So specific.
That was recorded 5 days before the home opener. And then Marek Mamich went and did that. So that was just weird.
Have you talked to Marek since then?
Oh, yeah.
What did he say to him?
He even kind of forgot that he said third shift. He thought he just said first game, second period. I was like, you said third shift too, and you did exactly that. And he's like, yeah, that's weird.
That's very weird.
Yeah.
There you go. Nostradamus against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nostradamus, Notre Dame. There you go. Wordplay.
Nugsy, what about you for takeaways, I guess, from the opening weekend?
Yeah, I mean, again, one of the things I said I was really excited about in the preview for the season is that these coaches keep giving young bucks opportunities. We talked about the Perlingers, Van Blaricom, still in 06, we forget. Carter Hines for Notre Dame. I thought he was outstanding for 2 games, as well. Ronan Buckberger was as advertised for Nipawin. The list goes on and on. coaches are giving 05s, 06s, 07s, making you all feel old. I'm sure out there, lots of opportunity, and the talent has responded. They haven't needed that too big of an adjustment period to jump into the league and make an impact on a junior hockey league that is, the old school mentality is that the SJ is an old league and this and that, but it's not, because these kids are getting opportunity and they're producing. So keep it up. Coaches keep giving them opportunities, special teams, whatnot, late in games, and they'll keep proving you right. And so far, our coaches have been proven right.
Well, the opening weekend has come and gone, but we have a couple of days off, and then the action will resume on Thursday. Let's take a look at the upcoming schedule before we sign off. The action in the SJHL will resume on Thursday as the Battleford's North Stars will begin a little bit of a lengthy road trip, 3 games and 3 nights, as they take on the Yorkton Terriers Thursday night in the lone action, and then 5 games on Friday. La Ronge at Flin Flon, Weyburn, Estevan, Nipawin, Kindersley, Battleford's and Yorkton meeting again, and then Nugs will be on the bus and on the road to Melfort as the Mustangs host the Hounds. And then Saturday, Battleford is in Melville to wrap up 3-3. Notre Dame takes on Nipawin at the Cage. The second half of a home and home between both Estevan Weyburn, La Ronge, Flin Flon, and then Kindersley meets Melfort. I guess when you guys look at this schedule, Rory, you got the week off, but what?
I mean, I still work. But.
Well, of course. But when it comes to calling hockey games, I'll ask you this: out of those matchups, what games are you looking forward to?
I mean, I'm still highlighting the Sherwood division on any time they play each other. I don't think they do this weekend, though. But can Melfort keep it going? Last year we had Humboldt and Battleford's go to 8-0 before one of them lost their winning streak.
Yes.
So there's only 2 teams right now after the first weekend that don't, and then Estevan Weyburn are getting going as well. So Estevan Weyburn is always the one. They dressed their full roster in their first preseason game.
That's right.
There was no rookies in that lineup, and I'm like, it's already started between Cody Mapes and Jason Tatarnik. So the Estevan Weyburn series is what I'm looking at too.
Nugsy?
Yeah, thanks for taking the 2 good ones there. I appreciate it.
But you can concur.
I mean, you could take the games that you're going to.
Look. Again, don't worry if you're a Battleford's North Stars fan. I know you won every game, barely lost last year. There are going to be a few more bumps in the road this year, but the Battleford's North Stars are still so well coached. They still got plenty of returnees from the Centennial Cup. Second place team. Remember, they're the silver medalists in our whole country, and so they know what they're doing. And a good long road trip to get the boys together there in Battleford's is going to be good as they traverse their way through the Vitera division. Again, I'm always very, very interested to take a look at how teams do with new coaches. Doug Johnson will take on Braden Klamosko there in Saturday in Melville. That'll be a lot of fun to see. And again, as Rory was saying, the dislike between Estevan and Weyburn, we should all celebrate it. It's not a friendly thing in the arena.
You need rivalries.
They are not. It's not like brothers and that's cute. They do not like each other, and that's the way it should be. And I hope it stays that way forever. And you better get out to the rink if you're either in Estevan or Weyburn, because you will not want to miss that.
Yeah. I will say, though, La Ronge and Flin Flon is a great rivalry.
Oh, absolutely.
To throw in, to have that home and home as well. Yeah. Those 2 teams don't really like each other either.
No.
But regardless, it is going to be another great week of SJHL hockey, the first full week, I guess, of the season, technically. And to stay up to date with everything across the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, be sure to follow us across all the social medias. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on X. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's where you're going to find all the highlights, our shows, and any other feature across the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. We are very, very close to 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, which is a long way from where we started last season. So thank you so much for your support by subscribing to the YouTube channel. Keep subscribing. It's free. So please do so. We would appreciate it. And also a big thank you to all of our great sponsors here at the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Of course, we have to give a big shout out to UPL, our presenting sponsor for SJHL Weekly and SJHL Insider, and all the great shows that we produce for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. But also all the other great sponsors: Bourgault, Cantera Seeds, Capital Auto Mall, Great Western, Nutrien, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Sask Lotteries, Tourism Saskatchewan, UPL, Sask Energy, SGU, SGI, thank you so much for your support, because without your support, these shows would not be possible. Lots of great action in the SJHL this week. Be sure to get out to your local rink and support your local team. And of course, if you cannot make out to the rink, you can catch all the action on Flow Hockey. Thanks so much for tuning in for this week's edition of SJHL Weekly. We really appreciate it. For Jamie, Rory, Jeromy, we appreciate you, and we'll see you next week on SJHL Weekly.